Netflix announcing solid third quarter earnings after market close Tuesday. The streaming giant beat Wall Street estimates on both the top and bottom lines. Netflix reporting earnings of $3.19 per share on revenue of $7.48 billion in the 3 months ending September 30th. The company also beating estimates for the most closely watched metric, paid subscriber additions. Netflix adding 4.4 million global paid subs in Q3, which exceeded estimates of just 3.5 million. The global paid total subscriber base now just over 213 million. I'm joined by Kevin Tran, Variety Intelligence Platform media analyst, to discuss Netflix's latest quarter. Kevin, let's start with the big numbers here, because 4.4 million is pretty big when you think about it on a global standpoint. But if you focus in on the different regions, the growth wasn't necessarily balanced, right? Even Squid Game, the mass hit that we've been seeing over the past month or so, couldn't boost numbers here in the US. So what are you seeing with this imbalance in the different regions?
Yeah, I think it just speaks to Netflix and, where it's based. It's a US-based company. As growth domestically has slowed, it's chosen to focus more on growth in international territories. So, as you mentioned, a lot of the growth coming from outside of the US. Netflix's US and Canada region during the first 3 quarters of 2021 only added about 0.8 million subscribers. In APAC, Netflix added 4.6 million subs during that time frame. So it just speaks to, I think, the content investment that Netflix is ramping up globally. Just overall, the 4.4 million global subs that Netflix added in Q3, are coming at a good time for the streamer. During the first half of the year, subscriber growth was a little soft. So I think this subscriber beat was something that investors were really looking for.
Yeah, and Q4 guidance pretty good as well at 8.5 million expected. Let's talk a little bit about what the company announced in terms of the way that it's going to be reporting viewership. They're switching that up. Can you break that down and tell us if that's really going to change things here for the company?
Yeah, so the company announced that they're going to be switching later in the year from breaking down the number of households that a title has reached after debut to the number of hours that it's been streamed. So I think this is useful because it really helps give a better idea of, where are consumers spending their time in front of titles, where are the eyeballs staying in front of, rather than perhaps what titles are heavily sampled, which the other metric could give you an idea of. But at the same time, I think it's not as helpful when we don't have the other major streamers like HBO Max or Hulu or even Disney Plus announcing similar metrics, whether it be the households metrics or the one that I just mentioned Netflix is switching to, which is the hours streamed metric. So I think that's what folks in the entertainment industry and even consumers watching titles want to know is, how can we make these apples to apples comparisons on which titles are doing well?
Just in time for earnings, you watched Squid Game. And if we're really looking at it from the viewership metric of households watched, it was the most watched show in Netflix's history, right? I think if we learned one thing from Squid Game, it's that content is still very much king in the space here in the streaming wars. What can we expect from Netflix going forward, not just in Q4, but in 2022 as well on the content side of things?
Management has been pointing to Q4 and the second half of 2021 being a big time period for the streaming service where in Q4 specifically, you have titles like You and The Witcher returning, which have been heavily streamed on Netflix in the past. You also have a big action movie with Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. Red Notice coming out in Q4, so I expect that to do particularly well on the service. But in terms of 2022, management said as well, they expect 2022 to be stronger slate-wise than 2021 in terms of just a number of originals coming out, as well as the spacing of the content throughout the year. And that highlights the titles coming out next year, like Stranger Things, Bridgerton, and Ozark, which will be returning next year. So I think titles like that will really help push Netflix ahead next year.
Yeah, Kevin, it was certainly a strong Q3. A lot of eyes on Q4 to see if they can really reach that 8.5 million subscriber guidance that they provided. So really strong quarter. Thank you for breaking everything down with me. If you want more in-depth analysis on Netflix and the rest of the media sector, head over to variety.com/VIP.